Have you ever wondered what would happen if humans crossed into the territory of the most powerful empire in the galaxy and refused to show fear? What if the empire threatened them with complete destruction, but the humans simply smiled and continued moving forward? Before we cross that forbidden border, take 1 second to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share this story with someone who loves seeing humanity surprise the entire galaxy. Now, let us discover why the Dominion never looked at humans the same way again. The alarms began at the edge of civilized space. Every warning system inside Dominion Border Station 7 activated at the same moment. Red emergency lights flashed across the walls. Heavy security doors closed automatically. Defensive shields started charging, and hundreds of crew members rushed toward their assigned positions. Commander Zelther opened all 4 of his eyes. For 1 second, he remained completely still on his resting platform. Nothing had ever caused all the station's alarms to activate together. Zelther had commanded Border Station 7 for almost 300 cycles. During that time, he had stopped smugglers, captured pirates, redirected lost transport ships, and destroyed several unmanned probes that had ignored Dominion law. But this alarm was different. This alarm meant that an unknown vessel had crossed the sacred boundary of the Galactic Dominion. The Dominion was not simply another collection of planets. It was the largest political and military power in known space. More than 10,000 civilizations lived beneath its banner. Its fleets guarded thousands of star systems. Its laws had maintained peace across the galaxy for 15,000 years. At least, that was what every Dominion citizen had been taught. No civilization entered Dominion territory without permission. No ship ignored a Dominion warning beacon. And no captain crossed the border after being told that destruction waited on the other side. Zelther rose from his platform. His massive body nearly touched the ceiling of the command chamber. He belonged to the Vaudran species. Vaudrans were tall, heavily built beings with 4 eyes, thick dark skin, and 2 powerful hearts. They had served as Dominion military officers for thousands of years because they were known for discipline, loyalty, and control. Zelther believed deeply in those qualities. He did not enjoy unnecessary violence. However, he believed that order could only exist when every civilization respected the same rules. Report, he commanded. At the communication station, a thin crystal-bodied officer turned toward him. Her name was Charlix. Light moved through her transparent body whenever she experienced strong emotions. At that moment, sharp lines of nervous blue energy flashed beneath her crystal skin. Commander, an unidentified vessel crossed boundary marker 14 7 minutes ago, she said. It ignored every automatic warning. Did it attack the beacon? No, Commander. Did it disable the beacon? No. Did it attempt to hide its presence? No. It is moving directly toward us at a steady speed. That answer disturbed Zelther more than an attack would have. A hostile vessel normally tried to hide. A smuggler tried to escape. A pirate approached with weapons ready. This ship was doing none of those things. It had simply crossed the border and continued forward as if the Dominion did not exist. Put it on the main display. The large screen at the front of the chamber came alive. For a moment, Zelther thought the image had been damaged. The vessel looked impossibly primitive. Its outer hull was made from thick metal plates that had been welded together. Large engines pushed it through space using a mixture of nuclear power and old chemical thrusters. Long sensor arms extended from both sides of the ship. Small sections of the hull had different colors, suggesting that repairs had been completed with whatever material had been available. The ship was not beautiful. It was not elegant. It was not advanced. But it looked strong. It looked like it had been designed by people who expected things to break and had prepared to repair them with their own hands. Zelther studied the strange vessel. Its shape was blocky and practical. It had no glowing energy wings, no living metal surface, and no quantum field surrounding its hull. By Dominion standards, it belonged in a museum. Analysis, Zelther ordered. The station's artificial intelligence responded immediately. Unknown vessel. Length, 218 standard units. Crew estimate, 25 to 40 biological life forms. Technology level, late Tier 2 or early Tier 3. Main power source, nuclear fusion. Secondary power systems, chemical and electrical. Faster than light system detected, design unknown. Weapons. Kinetic projectile launchers. Nuclear missiles. Basic laser systems. Several unidentified devices. Overall threat level to this station, minimal. Several officers relaxed. Zelther did not. A civilization with such basic technology should not have possessed faster than light travel. Tier 2 species normally spent centuries exploring their own star system before discovering a safe method of crossing interstellar distances. Yet this ship had traveled far beyond any nearby inhabited world. Origin. Unknown. Its engine trail suggests it entered the region from unexplored territory beyond the Perseus Drift. Search all records. No matching vessel or biological signature exists within Dominion databases. Zelther moved closer to the screen. A young civilization had somehow reached the Dominion border without being discovered by scouts, traders, or automated observation systems. That was highly unusual. Still, the situation seemed simple. The unknown species had probably failed to understand the warning beacons. Zelther would explain the law, frighten them enough to make the danger clear, and send them home. It had happened before. Young species often believed that space belonged to everyone. They left their home worlds full of confidence and curiosity, only to discover that the galaxy was already divided by powers far older than them. Most turned around immediately when they saw a Dominion war station. Open a communication channel, Zelther said. Use every known frequency and translation pattern. Charlix moved her hands across the control surface. Channel open. Zelther stepped in front of the visual transmitter. He straightened his uniform and allowed all four of his eyes to focus on the camera. He had delivered this warning many times. He knew exactly how to make himself appear powerful. Unidentified vessel, this is Commander Zelther of Galactic Dominion Border Station 7. You have crossed a protected boundary and entered restricted territory. This region is controlled by 10,000 united civilizations. He paused to allow the translation systems to process his words. Your vessel is surrounded by weapons capable of destroying it instantly. Reverse your course. Return to your system of origin and do not approach this border again. Failure to comply will result in your destruction. Zelther leaned closer to the camera. You have 30 seconds to respond. The channel remained silent. A timer appeared on the display. 30 seconds became 20. 20 became 10. Zelther watched the unknown vessel. It did not slow down. Its engines continued producing the same steady power. 5 seconds. 4. 3. 2. 1. No response came. Zelther's lower hands closed into fists. Perhaps their translation system is too primitive, Charlix suggested. Send the message again using mathematical symbols. Before she could obey, the communication panel flashed. Incoming transmission, she announced. Display it. The image of the unknown vessel disappeared. A face appeared in its place. Zelther's translator began examining the being. It had 2 eyes, 1 nose, 1 mouth, and smooth brown skin. Short black hair covered the top of its head. It wore a dark blue uniform with several patches attached to the chest and shoulders. The 2 forward-facing eyes suggested a predator species. However, the being did not show aggression. It looked curious. Then it smiled. The expression displayed its teeth. Several Dominion officers reached for their weapons, but the translator quickly identified the expression as friendly. Hello, the being said. This is Captain Marcus Webb of the Earth exploration vessel Wanderer. We received your transmission. Sorry about the delay. Our translation system needed time to understand your language. Zelther stared at him. The being's voice was calm. Too calm. Captain Marcus Webb continued speaking. I think there may be a misunderstanding. We are not here to attack anyone. We picked up unusual energy readings about 40 light-years beyond this region. We are traveling there to investigate them. We only need to pass through. He looked away from the camera for a moment. And I have to say, this is a beautiful part of space. Your star formations are incredible. No one in the Dominion command chamber moved. Zelther wondered whether the translation system had made a mistake. The unknown captain was speaking as though he had entered a friendly port, not the territory of an empire that had just threatened to destroy him. Captain Webb, Zelther said slowly, you are inside restricted Dominion space. Yes, I understand that now. You ignored our warning beacons. We detected them, but we could not decode them. The transmission system appears to be very old. Our artificial intelligence tried several thousand communication patterns and eventually decided the signals might be automatic navigation markers. They clearly state that this territory belongs to the Dominion. They may clearly state that in your communication system, Marcus replied. To us, they sounded like repeating waves of noise. A few officers exchanged surprised looks. No one spoke to a Dominion commander in such a direct manner. Zelther moved closer to the screen. You understand the warning now. Turn around. Marcus's smile weakened. Commander, we have traveled for 11 months to reach this region. Turning around would end our mission. We are not claiming your territory. We are not approaching any inhabited planet. We are simply passing through empty space. There is no empty space inside the Dominion. With respect, space is mostly empty. Charlix made a quiet sound that might have been shock. Zelther felt heat rising beneath his skin. This is not a philosophical discussion. Dominion law does not allow unauthorized vessels to enter this region. Then authorize us. The command chamber became completely silent. Zelther blinked all four eyes. What? Give us temporary permission, Marcus said. You know where we are. You can watch our ship. You can inspect our flight path. We will not approach your planets or stations. In a few days, we will leave your territory. You crossed our border without permission. Because we did not know the border was here. I have informed you. And I am asking for permission now. Zelther had dealt with hundreds of captains from developing civilizations. Some begged. Some apologized. Some became angry. A few tried to escape. None had responded by calmly requesting that the Dominion change its decision. You do not understand your position, Zelther said. Marcus leaned back in his chair. I understand it very well. Your station is larger than our ship. Your technology is far more advanced. Your weapons could probably destroy us before we had time to react. Then why are you still moving forward? Because we did not travel this far to stop at the first closed door. Zelther studied the human's face. There was no visible fear. The captain understood the danger. Zelther could see that clearly. But understanding the danger had not changed his decision. Perhaps the species had poor survival instincts. Perhaps they were unable to imagine consequences. Zelther decided to show them. He turned toward his weapons officer. Vex was a Crozon warrior covered in natural armor plates. He had commanded weapons during 3 major wars and rarely questioned an order. Target the asteroid cluster near the unknown vessel, Zelther said. Vex looked at him. The cluster is 3,000 distance units from their position. I know. Power level. Maximum. Vex entered the command. Outside the station, enormous particle cannons rotated toward a group of 30 asteroids. The rocks had traveled through space for billions of years. Some were larger than entire cities. Energy gathered inside the weapons. The lights in the command chamber briefly became dim as power moved toward the cannons. Then the station fired. 2 white beams crossed the darkness. They struck the asteroid cluster. For one brilliant second, space looked as if a new sun had been born. The asteroids did not break apart. They disappeared. 30 mountains of stone became expanding clouds of gas and dust. The explosion sent energy across thousands of distance units. Zelther turned back toward the communication screen. He expected Marcus Webb to look terrified. Instead, the human captain was leaning toward the camera with wide eyes. "That was incredible," Marcus whispered. Zelther said nothing. Marcus looked toward someone outside the camera's view. "Did you record the energy pattern?" A second human voice answered from somewhere behind him. "Every part of it." Marcus faced Zelther again. "Commander, were those particle beams moving at around 70% of light speed?" Zelther's mouth opened. "How did you determine that?" "Our sensors measured the delay between the weapon discharge and the impact. The focusing system must be extremely advanced. We have experimental particle weapons, but we cannot manage the energy cost." Zelther stared at him. "I destroyed those asteroids to show you what will happen to your vessel." "Yes, I understood the message." "Then turn around." Marcus took a slow breath. "No." The word was not shouted. It was not spoken with anger. That made it more powerful. Zelther felt both of his hearts beating faster. "Explain." "We respect your strength," Marcus said. "We understand that your weapons are centuries beyond ours. But threatening us will not make us abandon our mission. That is not a logical decision. It is a human decision." "What does that mean?" Marcus looked thoughtful. "It means our species has spent its entire history going toward things that frightened us." Zelther remained silent. Marcus continued. "Our ancestors lived in forests filled with predators that were stronger and faster than us. We were not protected by armor. We did not have claws. We could not run very quickly. But we learned to build tools." Images began appearing beside the captain. They showed early humans carrying simple weapons and standing around fires. "We explored deserts where there was almost no water. We crossed oceans in wooden ships without knowing what waited on the other side. We climbed mountains where the air could not support us. We entered caves, studied storms, fought diseases, and learned to survive in places that seemed designed to kill us." The images changed. Humans flew through the sky in early aircraft. They launched primitive rockets. They walked on the surface of their moon. Every important step in our history began with someone telling us that it was impossible or too dangerous. Marcus's eyes focused on Zelther. "We do feel fear, Commander. We simply do not believe fear should make every decision for us." Zelther considered those words. Dominion military training taught officers to control fear. However, control was based on preparation, superior weapons, and reliable plans. The humans had none of those advantages. Their ship was weak. Their crew was small. They had entered unknown territory. And still they refused to retreat. "Your courage will not protect you from our weapons," Zelther said. "No," Marcus agreed. "But your weapons do not make you automatically right." That statement caused several officers to rise from their seats. Vex placed one armored hand near the weapon at his side. Zelther raised a hand, ordering everyone to remain calm. "You are standing against 10,000 civilizations. I am sitting in a chair." For half a second, Charlix produced a bright flash of yellow light. Zelther realized she was trying not to laugh. He turned one eye toward her. The yellow light disappeared. Marcus raised both hands. "Sorry. Human humor sometimes appears at the wrong moment. This is the wrong moment. That is usually when humor is most useful." Zelther returned his attention to the tactical display. The Wanderer was still moving forward, but it had reduced its speed. The humans were not attempting to rush past the station. They were waiting. They were giving him time to make a different decision. Zelther did not know whether that was brave or foolish. "Captain Webb, how many humans are aboard your vessel?" 30. This station contains more than 300 trained personnel. 50 Dominion warships can reach this sector within 1 hour. A full fleet could reach your home system before your vessel completed its return journey. Marcus's expression became serious. Are you threatening Earth? I am explaining the difference between our power. I understand the difference. Do you? The Dominion could destroy your civilization. Marcus remained silent for several seconds. When he spoke again, his voice had changed. The friendliness remained, but something harder now existed beneath it. Earth has more than 7 billion people. We have survived ice ages, natural disasters, plagues, world wars, and weapons powerful enough to destroy our own cities. We have made terrible mistakes. We have hurt one another in ways that still shame us. He looked directly into Zelther's 4 eyes. But we are still here. The command chamber seemed smaller. We learned to rebuild after destruction. We learned to continue after loss. We learned that being weaker does not mean being helpless. You cannot fight the Dominion. We do not want to fight the Dominion. But you refuse to obey. Obedience and peace are not the same thing. Zelther had never heard a member of a young civilization speak like this. The Galactic Dominion believed peace came from order. Order came from law. Law was protected by power. To question any part of that system was to question everything the Dominion represented. Yet Marcus did not sound like a revolutionary or an enemy. He sounded like an explorer who simply believed that open space should remain open. What exactly do you propose? Zelther asked. Several officers turned toward him in surprise. Marcus smiled. We continue along our planned path. You monitor us. We stay away from inhabited systems. We investigate the energy readings, and then we return home. No one fires a weapon. No one starts a war. You learn about us, and we learn about you. You are asking me to ignore Dominion law. I am asking you to use judgment. The law is clear. Then perhaps the law was written before it met a situation like this. Zelther felt his patience reaching its limit. Before he could answer, every sensor panel in the chamber flashed. Charlix's body became dark blue. Commander, multiple faster than light exits detected. How many? 7 vessels. Dominion? No. Their energy patterns match Krell raider ships. Zelther turned toward the tactical display. 7 red symbols appeared behind the Wanderer. The Krell were among the most dangerous raiders in the galaxy. They did not control planets. They lived aboard moving fleets, attacking isolated stations and transport ships. They stole technology from every species they defeated. Because their ships constantly changed, Dominion forces found it difficult to predict their abilities. More importantly, the Krell did not fear death in battle. They believed that survival belonged only to the strongest. How did they find us? Vex asked. The particle weapon discharge, Zelther answered. They detected the energy. The demonstration meant to frighten the humans had attracted an enemy fleet. Battle stations, Zelther ordered. Raise shields. Charge every weapon. Send a distress signal to Fleet Command. The command chamber exploded into movement. Officers activated defense systems. Large sections of the station closed behind armored walls. Civilians were ordered into emergency shelters. Zelther opened a communication channel to the Wanderer. Captain Webb, 7 hostile vessels have entered the sector. We see them, Marcus replied. They are Krell raiders. They attack without warning and take no prisoners. Move away from the station immediately. Marcus looked toward his tactical officer. Are they targeting us? They will target anything they believe they can destroy. Then leaving would only make us an easier target. Your ship cannot survive this battle. Marcus's face became calm. Can your station survive it? Zelther studied the approaching ships. Probably. That was not a confident answer. This station has powerful shields. And more than 300 people aboard. Zelther did not reply. Marcus continued. Some of your life signs are smaller than the others. Are there children on the station? How did you know? We scanned the station when we arrived. It is standard procedure during first contact. We detected 62 young life forms. Zelther's upper hands closed. You scanned a military station without permission. You threatened to destroy us. We wanted to know what we were dealing with. This is another serious violation. We can discuss it after the pirates leave. Captain Webb, take your crew and run. Marcus looked at the incoming vessels. No. Zelther almost struck the control panel. Why are humans incapable of understanding that word? Oh, we understand it, Marcus said. We just do not always agree with it. This is not your fight. There are children on your station. That does not make it your responsibility. It does now. Zelther looked at him in disbelief. Only minutes earlier, he had threatened to destroy the human ship. Now the humans were refusing to leave because civilians aboard his station might be harmed. Your weapons are primitive, Zelther said. Primitive weapons can still hurt. The Krell ships are larger than yours. Most things are larger than the Wanderer. You have no energy shields. That is why we try not to get hit. Zelther heard laughter from someone on the human bridge. Humans appeared to find humor even while an enemy fleet approached them. It was either a powerful psychological defense or evidence of collective insanity. Marcus's expression became focused. Commander, we can move between their formation and your station. Our ship is smaller and more maneuverable. We will distract them while your weapons target their larger vessels. You would be placing your ship directly in their line of fire. Yes. You may die. Yes. Why would you do that for strangers? Marcus looked surprised by the question. Because they need help. No grand speech followed. No argument. To the human captain, that answer was enough. Zelther suddenly understood something important. The absence of fear was not what made humans unusual. Marcus was afraid. His crew was probably afraid. They understood that their ship could be destroyed. They simply believed that some things mattered more than their fear. The Krell ship spread into an attack formation. Their vessels looked like metal predators. Armor plates from different civilizations covered their hulls. Cannons, missile launchers, and plasma weapons pointed in every direction. Zelther had only seconds to decide. He could order the humans to leave, but he knew they would not obey. He could fire on them for violating Dominion territory, but that would mean attacking the only ship offering to protect his people. Or he could accept help from a primitive species he had threatened only minutes earlier. Zelther activated the channel. Very well, Captain Webb. Marcus raised an eyebrow. You may assist in the defense of this station. That sounds almost like temporary permission to remain in Dominion space. Do not make me regret this. No promises. Zelther released a long breath. Welcome to the Galactic Dominion, Captain. Try not to die. Marcus smiled. Commander, humans have been trying not to die since we climbed down from the trees. We have become surprisingly good at it. The Wanderer increased its speed. It moved away from the station and turned toward the Krell ships. Charlix watched its movement. The humans are placing themselves directly in front of us. They said they would, Zelther replied. I did not believe them. Neither did I. The Wanderer opened a channel on every frequency. Marcus's voice filled the command chamber. Krell vessels, this is Captain Marcus Webb of the Earth Exploration Vessel Wanderer. You are approaching a civilian and military installation with weapons active. End your attack and leave this sector. A few seconds later, harsh growls came through the speakers. The translator struggled to separate the sounds. Then one voice became clear. Small prey speaks loudly. The Krell commander appeared on the screen. His name, according to the ship's identification signal, was Krell. He had a long head, dark scales, and a mouth filled with uneven teeth. Metal plates had been attached directly to his skin. "You stand before Krell hunting ships," Krell said. "Move away. We destroy station. Then we hunt you." Marcus remained calm. "No." Krell leaned closer to his camera. "You are small. I have noticed. You are weak. That is still being tested." The Krell commander made a growling sound. "Your bones will hang inside my command chamber. That seems unhygienic." Several human crew members laughed. Krell did not understand the response, but he understood that the humans were not afraid. His eyes narrowed. "You die first." The communication ended. Zelther contacted Marcus directly. "The Krell do not respond to humor. Most bullies do not. They will focus their weapons on you. That is part of the plan. You are treating the destruction of your ship like a tactical advantage. If they are shooting at us, they are not shooting at your station." The first Krell vessel fired. A ball of blue plasma crossed space toward the Wanderer. The human ship rolled to one side. The plasma passed beneath its hull. Then every Krell vessel opened fire. Space filled with glowing energy and fast-moving projectiles. The station's shields activated. Blue light formed around the structure as several plasma bolts struck it. The Wanderer had no shields. Its engines fired in short, violent bursts. The vessel turned, rolled, dropped, and accelerated in ways that surprised the Dominion officers. Most advanced ships depended on computers to create smooth, efficient flight paths. The human ship moved unpredictably. It seemed to throw itself through space. A plasma bolt passed over its command section. A missile moved toward its engines, but the Wanderer released metal fragments and burning fuel. The missile followed the false target and exploded behind the ship. Vex watched the tactical screen. "Their pilot is manually changing direction." "That is impossible at those speeds," Charlix said. "Apparently not for humans." Zelther gave the order to return fire. The station's particle cannons activated. White beams struck the first Krell vessel. Its shields flared and failed. The second beam cut through its forward armor. The raider ship began turning away. A second Krell vessel launched missiles at the station. Dominion defense lasers destroyed most of them, but 3 reached the shields and exploded. "Shield power at 91%, an officer reported. Continue firing." The Wanderer turned toward the damaged Krell ship. Small ports opened along the human vessel's hull. Its kinetic cannons began firing. Thousands of metal rounds crossed space. At first, the Krell shield stopped them. Then the projectiles began striking faster than the shields could recover. The protective field weakened. Metal rounds passed through. They punched holes into the Krell ship's armor. Atmosphere escaped from several compartments. Vex leaned toward his display. "They are overwhelming the shield with volume." "The projectiles are simple metal," Charlix said. "They do not need to be advanced," Vex replied. "Not when they are moving that quickly." The Krell vessel tried to turn away, but the Wanderer continued firing. A final group of projectiles struck the ship's engine section. The raider lost power. "First hostile disabled," Vex announced. Zelther looked at the human vessel with new respect. Its weapons were primitive. But humans had clearly spent a great deal of time learning how to make primitive weapons effective. The other Krell ships changed their formation. 3 turned toward the Wanderer. Their cannons fired together. The human ship avoided the first wave. It avoided most of the second. The third caught it. 2 plasma bolts struck the Wanderer's lower hull. Metal became liquid. A section of armor broke away and spun into space. Gas escaped from the damaged area. "Human vessel has suffered a hull breach," Charlix reported. Zelther opened the channel. "Wanderer, report." Marcus appeared through smoke and flashing emergency lights. "We lost pressure on decks 3 and 4, he said. "The compartments have been sealed." "Casualties?" "2 injured. No deaths. Move behind our shields. We are more useful out here." "Your hull has been damaged." "Yes, we noticed." "You cannot continue taking direct hits." "Then we will stop taking direct hits." The communication ended before Zelther could respond. The Wanderer accelerated toward one of the Krell vessels. At the last moment, it released 6 missiles. The missiles did not strike the ship. They exploded around it. Clouds of metal fragments filled the area. The Krell vessel moved through the cloud at high speed. Millions of small pieces struck its hull and sensors. Its weapons stopped firing. The Wanderer turned and attacked another raider. Zelther watched in amazement. Human technology was simple, but human tactics were not. They used every weakness in their equipment as a reason to think differently. They could not create powerful energy shields, so they learned to avoid being hit. They could not build particle cannons, so they fired huge numbers of solid projectiles. They could not produce advanced electronic weapons, so they turned missiles into clouds of fast-moving metal. The Dominion had spent thousands of years improving the same technologies. Humans seemed willing to use anything that worked. "The Krell are focusing on the human ship," Vex said. "Use that," Zelther ordered. "Target the vessels chasing the Wanderer." The station fired. A particle beam struck one Krell ship from behind. Its reactor exploded. The blast threw pieces of the vessel across space. 5 raiders remained. The Krell commander appeared on every communication screen. "Dominion Station," Croft growled. "You hide behind small prey. More hunters come. You cannot survive." His transmission ended. Charlix looked at the long-range sensors. Her crystal body lost its color. "Commander." Zelther knew the news was bad before she spoke. 12 additional jump signatures detected. "How long?" 4 minutes. "Fleet reinforcements?" 47 minutes. Zelther looked at the tactical display. 5 Krell vessels remained in the current battle. 12 more were approaching. His station's shield power had fallen to 74%. The Wanderer's hull was badly damaged. They could defeat 5 ships. They could not defeat 17. "Order civilian evacuation," Zelther said quietly. The officers near him stopped moving. "Commander?" Charlix asked. "Prepare the escape pods. Place children and non-essential personnel aboard first. The Krell will target the pods." "I know." "Then most of them will not escape." "I know." Zelther looked at the red symbols approaching through faster-than-light space. For the first time in centuries, Border Station 7 was going to fall. He had always believed that Dominion power made such a thing impossible. But power had limits. The mathematics of battle did not care about pride. "Commander Zelther," Marcus said through the channel. "I may have an idea." Zelther looked at the damaged human bridge. Marcus had blood on one side of his face. Smoke moved behind him. 2 crew members were fighting a small fire near a control panel. "Can your idea stop 12 warships?" "Possibly." "That is not an encouraging answer." "It is better than definitely not." Zelther almost understood the human humor this time. "What is your plan?" "The Krell ships are using the same jump corridor." "Yes." "That means your sensors can predict where they will return to normal space." "Within a small area." "How small?" Charlix examined the data. "Approximately 800 distance units." Marcus nodded. "That is close enough." "Close enough for what?" Zelther asked. The human captain looked toward his engineering officer. "The Wanderer's main reactor produces enough energy to power the ship for several years. If we remove the safety systems and force all that energy to release at once, the explosion will be enormous. Zelther slowly understood. No. We position the ship at the Krell exit point. No. We overload the reactor and leave in the escape pods. No. The explosion will hit their ships as they exit faster than light travel. Their shields may not be fully active. You would destroy your vessel. Yes. Your escape pods are primitive. Some of your crew may not reach safety. Yes. The timing would need to be exact. Yes. There are countless ways your plan could fail. Marcus gave a tired smile. Then it sounds like a human plan. Zelther felt anger rising inside him. You entered this territory less than 1 hour ago. You do not owe us your ship or your lives. There are children on your station. You keep saying that. Because you keep forgetting that it is enough. Zelther looked away. He had served the Dominion for 300 cycles. He had always believed that his duty was to protect its territory, laws, and citizens. The human had no such duty. Marcus could leave. Even the Krell might ignore the Wanderer if it fled far enough. Yet he was preparing to sacrifice the ship that had carried his crew across unknown space. Why? Zelther asked. Tell me the real reason. Marcus was silent for a moment. Then he spoke softly. Because someone has to do something. That cannot be your entire reason. Sometimes it is. You may lose everything. If we do nothing, your people lose everything. They are not your people. Marcus looked directly at him. They are people. That answer changed something inside Commander Zelther. The Dominion divided the galaxy into citizens, allies, neutral species, developing species, enemies, and unknown life forms. Humans seemed to use a simpler system. If someone needed help, they were worth helping. Zelther looked at his officers. Vex waited for an order. Charlix's crystal body glowed with fearful blue light. Around them, the station shook beneath another Krell attack. The shields fell to 68%. Zelther activated the channel. Do it. Marcus nodded. But Captain Webb, listen carefully. If you and your crew survive, I will personally guarantee your right to travel through Dominion space. Marcus smiled. Is that temporary permission? No. It is permanent. Good. I was beginning to think you did not like us. The Wanderer broke away from the battle. Its damaged engines pushed it toward the predicted jump point. 3 Krell vessels turned to follow. Stop those ships, Zelther ordered. The station's weapons fired at the pursuing vessels. One changed direction. The other 2 continued chasing the Wanderer. Human kinetic cannons fired backward, forcing the ships to move away from the direct path. Time until Krell arrival? Zelther asked. 3 minutes. The Wanderer reached the center of the predicted area. Small sections of its outer hull opened. Escape pods began launching. They were simple round vehicles with basic chemical engines. 1 pod. 2. 5. 10. Each carried several human crew members toward the station. The Krell commander saw what was happening. Croth appeared on the communication screen. Small prey abandons ship, he said. Krell will take vessel. Zelther realized the raiders did not understand the plan. Captain Webb, Zelther said, they believe you are surrendering the ship. Let them. 2 vessels are moving toward the Wanderer. That may improve the explosion. You say that as if you are discussing an experiment. I am an explorer. Everything is an experiment. Another escape pod launched. Then another. Charlix counted the life signs. 24 humans away from the ship. 6 remain, Zelther said. The Wanderer's reactor output began rising. Energy moved through the vessel's systems. Parts of its hull glowed red. The two Krell ships continued approaching. 2 minutes until jump exit, Charlix announced. Another pod launched. 27 humans clear. Zelther watched the damaged human bridge through the communication channel. Marcus remained in his command chair with 2 crew members. Captain, why are you still aboard? Someone has to control the final timing. Your computer can do that. Our main computer was damaged. Then leave now. We need another 30 seconds. You may not have 30 seconds. Marcus turned toward his engineer. Reactor safety systems. Removed. Power level. 140% and rising. Set the final sequence. The engineer entered several commands. An alarm filled the human bridge. Sequence active, she said. No way to stop it now. Good. Get to the pod. Marcus stood from his chair. The image shook as another Krell projectile struck the ship. The engineer fell. Marcus pulled her up. Together, the 3 humans moved through the damaged bridge. The camera continued transmitting. Zelther could see sparks falling from the ceiling. 60 seconds until Krell jump exit, Charlix announced. Captain Webb, you have less than 1 minute. We are moving. A metal support beam fell in front of the humans. Marcus and the other officer pushed against it. It did not move. Find another path, Zelther said. No time. The injured engineer tried to help. The 3 humans lifted the beam just high enough to crawl beneath it. 45 seconds. They reached the escape pod. The door opened. Marcus helped the injured engineer inside. The second officer entered after her. Marcus turned toward the camera mounted in the corridor. Commander, the Wanderer has been a good ship. I will remember her. Make sure our crew reaches the station. You have my word. Marcus entered the pod. The hatch closed. 30 seconds. The pod launched. Its small engine fired at maximum power. The Wanderer remained behind, glowing brighter every second. The 2 Krell ships had nearly reached it. They began slowing down, preparing to capture the abandoned vessel. The Krell reinforcements continued moving through the jump corridor toward the same point. 20 seconds. Zelther ordered the station's tractor beams to target every human pod. The pods were still too far away. The station's shields fell to 59%. The 5 original Krell vessels increased their attack, hoping to destroy the station before the reinforcements arrived. 10 seconds, Charlix said. The command chamber became silent. 9. 8. 7. The Wanderer's reactor reached critical pressure. 6. 5. The first parts of the 12 Krell ships began appearing in normal space. 4. Their shields were not fully active. 3. Kroth finally understood. His face appeared on the screen, filled with rage. Human trick. 2. 1. The Wanderer became a star. The explosion expanded in every direction. The 2 Krell vessels beside it disappeared instantly. Their armor, weapons, and crews became part of a wave of fire. The 12 reinforcement ships appeared directly inside the blast. 3 were destroyed before their sensors could activate. 4 more lost their shields and suffered massive damage. The remaining ships were thrown away from one another. Their formation broke. Their engines failed. Their weapons lost their targets. The explosion reached the human escape pods. Their heat shields glowed. Several pods began spinning. Zelther watched helplessly as Marcus's pod disappeared inside the light. For a terrible second, the sensors showed nothing. Then the explosion began to weaken. Small life sign signals returned. 1. 5. 12. 20. 30. All humans alive, Charlix announced. Zelther released a breath he had not realized he was holding. The Krell forces were no longer organized. Target every damaged vessel, Zelther ordered. Fire all weapons. The station attacked. Particle beams cut through Krell armor. Missiles struck damaged engines. Dominion fighters launched from the station and moved through the broken enemy formation. The 5 original raiders attempted to escape. Vex targeted Krotha's command ship. The station's main cannon fired. Krotha's shields failed. A second beam passed through the center of his vessel. The Krell commander's transmission ended. Several remaining ships jumped away. Others surrendered after their engines were destroyed. Within minutes, the battle was over. The station remained damaged but alive. The civilians remained protected. And 30 humans floated through space inside small metal pods. Zelther ordered every available recovery team to the landing bays. Tractor beams reached across the battlefield. One by one, the human pods were pulled toward the station. The first pod entered the emergency bay. Medical officers stood ready in protective equipment. Dominion soldiers surrounded the area, unsure whether the humans would need help or present a threat. The pod door opened. Smoke escaped. A human officer climbed out and immediately turned to help another crew member. More pods arrived. Humans stepped onto the station carrying injured friends, damaged equipment, and pieces of personal property they had managed to save. Some were crying. Some were laughing. Several looked back through the landing bay shield toward the place where the Wanderer had been destroyed. The final pod arrived. Its door opened slowly. Captain Marcus Webb emerged. His uniform was torn. Blood covered part of his face. One arm rested around the injured engineer's shoulders as he helped her walk. He looked around the landing bay. "Did everyone make it?" he asked. A human officer raised his hand. All 30 accounted for. Marcus closed his eyes for 1 second. Good. Then he looked at Zelther. "Well, Commander, that was exciting." Zelther approached him. The commander was almost twice Marcus's height. Dominion soldiers watched carefully. For a long moment, Zelther said nothing. This human had entered his territory without permission. He had ignored threats. He had questioned Dominion law. He had refused to turn around even after seeing weapons capable of destroying mountains. Then, when the station was attacked, he had fought beside the same people who had threatened him. He had sacrificed his ship to save strangers. Zelther slowly lowered his head. Then he bent both upper arms across his chest and bowed. Every Dominion officer in the landing bay became silent. Among the Valdren, such a bow was reserved for the greatest warriors. It was not given because of military rank or political position. It had to be earned. "Captain Marcus Webb," Zelther said, "you fought with courage. You protected those who could not protect themselves. You placed the lives of strangers above your own property and safety." Marcus looked uncomfortable. "We only did what was necessary." "No," Zelther said. "You did what humans believed was necessary." Marcus returned the bow, although his movement was awkward. "I hope we did not break too many Dominion laws." "You broke more laws than I can count." "That sounds bad." "You also saved this station." "That sounds better." For the first time, Commander Zelther laughed. The sound surprised everyone, including him. Before we continue to see how one human ship changed the future of 10,000 civilizations, support the channel by pressing like, subscribing, and sharing this adventure. Every share helps another science fiction fan join humanity's journey into the stars. Medical teams treated the injured humans. Most had burns, cuts, or broken bones. None had suffered life-threatening injuries. The Dominion officers expected the humans to rest after surviving the battle. Instead, several human engineers asked to inspect the station's damaged shield generators. "Our systems are more advanced than yours," a Dominion technician said. That does not mean we cannot hold tools, the human chief engineer replied. Within an hour, human and Dominion engineers were working together. The humans could not fully understand the station's technology, but they recognized familiar problems. A broken power connection was still a broken power connection. A damaged coolant line still needed to be closed. A system that was too hot still needed to become cooler. The human crew used simple tools, physical strength, and practical thinking to help stabilize several sections of the station. Zelther watched them through the observation system. They have lost their ship, Charlix said. Why are they repairing ours? They do not know how to stop helping. Charlix's body flashed yellow. I believe I like them. That may be dangerous. I believe that is why I like them. Fleet reinforcements arrived 47 minutes after the first distress signal. 20 Dominion warships appeared around the station. Their commander, Admiral Corrin, immediately demanded an explanation. Corrin belonged to an ancient species known as the Tellari. His silver skin carried markings that showed more than 4 centuries of military service. He entered the command chamber expecting to find a destroyed station or a desperate defense. Instead, he found the battle already won. Damaged Krell ships floated outside. Human escape pods rested inside the landing bays. And unfamiliar bipedal beings were helping repair Dominion systems. Admiral Corrin looked at Zelther. Explain everything. Zelther gave him the full report. He explained how the Wanderer had crossed the border. He described his warnings, the humans' refusal to turn around, and the weapon demonstration. He admitted that his actions had attracted the Krell raiders. Then he described the battle. He explained how the humans had protected the station, used kinetic weapons against Krell shields, and sacrificed their vessel at the reinforcement jump point. Corrin listened without interrupting. When Zelther finished, the Admiral remained silent for several seconds. You allowed an unauthorized primitive vessel to participate in a Dominion military operation, he finally said. Yes, Admiral. You gave its captain permanent permission to enter Dominion space. Yes. You made this promise without approval from Fleet Command. Yes. You also threatened to destroy the vessel before accepting its help. Yes. Corrin looked around the chamber. And where is this human captain? In the medical section. Bring him here. Marcus entered the command chamber 20 minutes later. A medical patch covered the cut on his face. His damaged uniform had been replaced with a simple gray Dominion garment. He stood before Admiral Corrin without visible fear. Zelther knew Marcus now understood the Admiral's rank. He also knew that rank would not make the human lower his eyes. Captain Webb, Corrin said, you crossed into Dominion territory without authorization. Yes, Admiral. You ignored direct orders from a border commander. Yes. You used weapons inside protected space. Yes. You scanned a Dominion military station. Yes. You participated in a battle without permission from Fleet Command. Commander Zelther gave us permission. He did not have the authority to make you part of the Dominion military. Marcus looked toward Zelther. You did not mention that. It did not seem important during the attack. Corrin's eyes narrowed. Captain, do you understand the seriousness of your actions? I do. Do you have any defense? Marcus considered the question. We did not understand the warning beacons when we crossed the border. After Commander Zelther explained the law, we chose not to turn around because we believed peaceful travel through empty space should not be treated as an act of war. Corrin's expression did not change. When the Krell attacked, we decided to help. There were civilians on the station. We used our weapons because people were in danger. We sacrificed the Wanderer because it gave everyone the best chance of surviving. Do you regret your decisions? Marcus looked through the large observation window toward the battlefield. I regret losing my ship. That was not my question. No. I do not regret helping. You may face severe punishment. I understand. Your crew may also be punished. Marcus's expression hardened. The decisions were mine. My crew followed my orders. Any punishment should be given to me. Several Dominion officers looked at one another. Corin slowly walked around Marcus. You would accept punishment alone? Yes. Even though your crew agreed to the plan? I was their captain. Corin stopped in front of him. The Dominion values responsibility. So do humans. The Dominion also values courage. We try to. And loyalty. Marcus glanced toward his crew members waiting near the door. That one matters. Corin's stern expression disappeared. He laughed. The sound echoed through the command chamber. Marcus looked confused. Did I say something funny? No, Captain. Corin turned toward Zelther. You were correct. Zelther bowed his head. Corin faced Marcus again. The consequences of your actions have been decided. Marcus stood straighter. You and every member of your crew will receive honorary citizenship in the Galactic Dominion. Marcus blinked. I am sorry. You heard me. I expected something involving a prison. You saved hundreds of Dominion citizens. You defeated a Krell attack force and gave us valuable tactical information. Imprisoning you would be both dishonorable and foolish. Corin moved closer. Your vessel crossed our border as an unknown object. Your crew will leave this station as recognized friends of the Dominion. Marcus remained silent. Furthermore, Corin continued, I will recommend immediate diplomatic contact with your home world. That may be complicated. Why? Humans have many governments. How many? Almost 200 major nations, depending on how you count them. The admiral stared at him. You divided one planet into 200 political regions. Yes. And you still managed to develop faster than light travel. It took a lot of meetings. Charlix flashed yellow again. Corin seemed uncertain whether Marcus was serious. What authority sent you on this mission? The International Exploration Council. It represents many nations, scientific organizations, and independent colonies. Independent colonies. We have settlements on our moon, Mars, and several objects in our home system. You created colonies before establishing one planetary government? Yes. Why? Marcus shrugged. We wanted to explore. Admiral Corin slowly turned toward Zelther. You were correct about another thing. What is that, Admiral? These humans may be dangerous. Marcus raised a hand. We prefer adventurous. The Dominion fleet remained near Border Station 7 while repairs continued. During the following days, the station became the location of humanity's first official contact with alien civilization. Dominion scientists examined human biology. They discovered that humans were physically less powerful than many warrior species. They had no natural armor, no claws, and no special resistance to energy weapons. However, the scientists also discovered several unusual qualities. Human bodies could repair many types of damage. Their blood could close wounds. Their immune systems fought countless microscopic threats every day. Their muscles became stronger after being damaged by exercise. Their bones adjusted to repeated stress. Their minds could continue functioning while tired, injured, hungry, or frightened. Humans were not the strongest species. They were adaptable. Dominion psychologists studied the crew's behavior during the battle. The results confused them. Every human had experienced fear. Several had believed they were going to die. Yet fear had not caused them to stop working. Some humans had become more focused as the danger increased. Others used jokes to control panic. A few reported feeling strangely calm while completing tasks that could have killed them. The psychologists asked Marcus to explain. Human courage is not the absence of fear, he said. It is deciding that something else is more important. What could be more important than survival, one scientist asked. Family. Friends. Duty. Freedom. Sometimes even curiosity. The scientist stared at him. You would risk death because you are curious. We crossed unknown space inside a metal ship we built ourselves. What do you think? The Dominion also studied human military history. That study produced even greater concern. Humanity had fought thousands of wars. They had created weapons capable of poisoning land, burning cities, and destroying millions of people. However, they had also created rules for warfare, systems for protecting prisoners, and international organizations designed to prevent future conflicts. The humans seemed filled with contradictions. They were violent but compassionate. Competitive but cooperative. Afraid but brave. Divided but capable of uniting when faced with a greater threat. Primitive but inventive. One Dominion historian spent 3 days reading about Earth. When he finished, he sent a message to Admiral Corrin. We should become their friends before they become more advanced. Corrin agreed. A diplomatic vessel was prepared to travel to Earth. Marcus and his crew were offered places aboard. Before leaving, Marcus returned to the landing bay where the Wanderer's escape pods had been stored. Zelther found him standing beside the final pod. You miss your vessel, the commander said. She was not beautiful, Marcus replied. She was loud, uncomfortable, and always needed repairs. But she was yours. Yes. Marcus placed a hand against the pod's metal surface. We built her on Earth. Thousands of people worked on the project. Some spent their entire careers designing systems they would never personally use. Children watched the launch. Families waited for us to return. You will return. Without the ship. You return with proof that humanity is not alone. Marcus smiled slightly. That will probably help. Zelther held out one of his hands. A small piece of burned metal rested in his palm. Part of a letter was visible on its surface. Marcus recognized it as a fragment of the Wanderer's name. Recovery teams found this near the jump point, Zelther said. Marcus carefully picked it up. Thank you. I believed you might want to take it home. Marcus looked at the fragment for a long time. Then he placed it back in Zelther's hand. You keep it. Why? So you remember us. Zelther closed his fingers around the metal. I do not believe the Dominion will ever forget humanity. The diplomatic journey toward Earth lasted several weeks. During that time, human and Dominion crew members exchanged information. The Dominion taught the humans about advanced medicine, energy systems, and galactic history. The humans introduced the Dominion crew to music, coffee, card games, and several forms of entertainment that the aliens found confusing. Charlix became fascinated by human horror films. You experience fear for pleasure, she asked. Sometimes, Marcus said. Why? Because experiencing fear in a safe place can be enjoyable. That explanation makes no sense. You will understand after the third movie. After the third movie, Charlix requested 5 more. Vex spent most of the journey studying human military tactics. He became especially interested in a strategy humans called improvisation. Dominion training normally required officers to follow carefully prepared plans. Human officers also made plans, but they expected those plans to fail. What do you do when the plan fails? Vex asked. Make another one, Marcus answered. And if that plan fails? Make a faster one. And when do you stop? When the problem is solved or we are dead. Vex considered that statement. I believe human military doctrine is mostly organized stubbornness. That is a fair description. Admiral Corrin studied human culture. He learned that humans had imagined contact with alien life long before discovering it. Some human stories described aliens as friends. Others described them as invaders. Many stories showed humanity uniting to protect Earth. What do your people expect from the galaxy? Corrin asked. Marcus looked through the viewing window. Some expect friendship. Some expect danger. Most simply want answers. What answer matters most? Whether we are alone. You now know that you are not. Yes. Will that change humanity? Marcus thought for a moment. Completely. When the diplomatic fleet entered the solar system, humanity detected it immediately. Earth's defense networks activated. Military ships moved away from Mars and the Moon. Messages were transmitted in dozens of languages. The Dominion fleet stopped at the outer edge of the system. Marcus sent the first human transmission. Earth Control, this is Captain Marcus Webb. For several seconds, there was no reply. Then a human voice filled the bridge. Wanderer, identify your position. We lost contact with your vessel 11 weeks ago. Marcus looked around the Dominion command chamber. Earth Control, the Wanderer was destroyed. The voice became quiet. Captain, confirm crew status. All 30 crew members survived. Relief spread across the human communication channel. Where are you? I am aboard a diplomatic vessel belonging to an alien civilization known as the Galactic Dominion. A much longer silence followed. Marcus smiled. Earth Control, we found someone. News of first contact spread across Earth within minutes. People stopped working to watch the sky. Families gathered around screens. Governments opened emergency meetings. Religious leaders, scientists, soldiers, teachers, and ordinary citizens tried to understand what the announcement meant. Humanity was not alone. And the first alien fleet approaching Earth was being guided by the crew of a ship everyone had believed lost. The Dominion vessel entered orbit. Admiral Corrin sent a peaceful greeting to every major human government. The message was simple. We are representatives of the Galactic Dominion. We come at the request of Captain Marcus Webb and his crew, whose courage saved the lives of our citizens. We seek friendship with the people of Earth. The first meeting took place on a large international space station. Human representatives arrived from dozens of nations. Admiral Corrin, Commander Zelther, Charlix, and several Dominion diplomats entered the meeting chamber. Marcus stood between the two groups. For a moment, no one spoke. Then one human representative stepped forward. On behalf of Earth, welcome. Corrin lowered his head. On behalf of the Dominion, we thank you. The meeting lasted 14 hours. The Dominion representatives explained galactic law, trade, technology, and military threats. Human representatives asked thousands of questions. Some questions were thoughtful. Some were suspicious. A few were strange enough that Corrin had no answer. Finally, a human leader asked the most important question. Why did you decide to contact us? Corrin looked toward Marcus. Because your explorers entered our territory and refused to be frightened away. Several representatives looked uncomfortable. Corrin continued. They faced weapons beyond their understanding. They could have turned around. Instead, they defended their right to explore. Zelther spoke next. When our station was attacked, they could have escaped. Instead, they fought beside us. Corrin finished the explanation. They destroyed their own vessel to save people they had never met. A civilization should be judged not only by its power, but by what it chooses to protect. Your people chose to protect strangers. The room became silent. Formal relations between Earth and the Dominion began that day. At first, the Dominion expected humanity to remain a minor partner. Earth's technology was far behind that of most member civilizations. Human ships were slow. Their energy systems were inefficient. Their understanding of galactic science was limited. But humans learned quickly. Dominion engineers provided them with basic energy field knowledge. Within 1 year, humans created 3 different versions of the technology. One was cheaper. One was more powerful. One was unstable but capable of operating under conditions Dominion scientists had believed impossible. Why did you build 3? Zelther asked during a visit to Earth. Different teams had different ideas, Marcus replied. Why did they not work together? They did. Then why are the results different? They argued. Zelther looked at the three machines. Human disagreement creates technology. Sometimes. Within 5 years, human ships traveled across Dominion territory. They carried explorers, traders, scientists, and workers. Humans visited planets that had been considered too dangerous for ordinary settlement. They entered high-gravity environments. They built research stations near unstable stars. They explored ruins left by extinct civilizations. Whenever the Dominion marked a region as extremely dangerous, humans became more interested in visiting it. Zelther once asked Marcus why warning signs attracted humans. Marcus explained that warnings created questions. Questions created curiosity. And human curiosity was difficult to control. Not every Dominion civilization welcomed humanity. Some believed humans were too young, violent, and unpredictable. Others feared how quickly they learned. A group of powerful politicians demanded restrictions on human expansion. They argued that Earth should remain under observation for several centuries before gaining full Dominion membership. The High Council arranged a hearing. Marcus attended as Earth's representative. One council member, a proud ancient being named Lord Verex, questioned him. Your species has existed in interstellar space for less than 2 decades, Verex said. Why should humanity receive the same rights as civilizations that have served the Dominion for thousands of years? Marcus answered calmly. Because rights should not depend on age. Your world remains politically divided. Yes. Your history is filled with war. So is Dominion history. Several council members shifted in their seats. Verex's eyes narrowed. You are technologically primitive. We are improving. You are emotionally unstable. That depends on the day. You treat serious matters with humor. That helps with emotional stability. Some members of the council laughed. Verex did not. Humanity has not proven that it can contribute to the Dominion. Marcus looked around the chamber. The first time humans entered Dominion space, we helped defend one of your stations. We lost our ship protecting your citizens. Since then, our medical researchers have helped create treatments for 6 diseases. Our engineers have reduced the cost of 3 major systems. Our exploration teams have mapped 2 dangerous regions that your own ships avoided. Verex raised a hand. Those achievements are small. They are a beginning. You expect us to trust your species because of a beginning? No. We expect you to judge us by what we do next. The council delayed its decision. Then a new threat appeared. An unknown force began attacking Dominion worlds near the galactic core. The attackers used unmanned vessels controlled by a central intelligence. Their ships did not fear death, surrender, or make mistakes caused by emotion. They adapted to Dominion tactics. Every time the Dominion used a weapon, the machines learned how to defend against it. Several fleets were destroyed. The enemy moved closer to major inhabited systems. Dominion commanders depended on carefully organized battle plans. The machines predicted those plans with increasing accuracy. Admiral Corrin was placed in command of the defense. He studied the enemy for several days. Then he contacted Earth. We need human assistance. Humanity answered immediately. Earth sent military ships, engineers, programmers, and civilian volunteers. Commander Zelther, now promoted to fleet commander, met Marcus aboard a Dominion command vessel. Marcus had left exploration service and become an advisor to Earth's interstellar defense organization. You finally found an enemy that does not respond to your tactics, Marcus said. The machines predict every logical decision. Then stop being logical. Zelther stared at him. That is your strategy. It is the beginning of one. Human officers studied the machine fleet. They discovered that the enemy intelligence was almost perfect at predicting efficient behavior. It expected ships to preserve fuel. It expected commanders to protect valuable vessels. It expected damaged forces to retreat. It expected every military decision to follow a clear purpose. Humans decided to become unpredictable. They changed formations at random. They sent empty ships along important routes. They made damaged vessels appear stronger and strong vessels appear damaged. They used old communication equipment the machines could not easily monitor. They placed weapons inside transport containers. They deliberately created inefficient flight paths. The enemy intelligence began making mistakes. During the largest battle, Marcus commanded a mixed fleet of human and Dominion ships. "The machine force is moving toward our left formation," Zelther reported. "Move the left formation right. And the right formation? Move it forward. That will create an opening in our center." "I know. The enemy will attack the opening. That is what we want." Zelther looked at the tactical display. "What is waiting there?" "Nothing." "Then why do we want them to attack?" "Because they will believe something must be waiting there." The machine fleet slowed. Its intelligence spent valuable time analyzing the apparently obvious trap. There was no trap. While the machines hesitated, human vessels attacked their communication network. The enemy ships lost contact with their central intelligence. Dominion forces destroyed them. Zelther watched the final machine vessel disappear. "I do not understand how your plan worked. The machines expected us to be intelligent." "You are intelligent." "Yes, but we are also capable of looking extremely foolish. That is an advantage. More often than you would think." Humanity's role in the victory changed the High Council's opinion. Earth received full Dominion membership. However, humans did not become obedient members. They continued questioning rules. They argued during council meetings. They challenged traditions that had existed for thousands of years. Some civilizations found them exhausting. Others found them inspiring. The Dominion had maintained order for 15,000 years, but that order had slowly become rigid. Many laws existed simply because no one remembered why they had been created. Humans asked why. When they did not receive a good answer, they asked again. They encouraged young civilizations to participate in political decisions. They demanded better protections for exploration vessels. They helped create a universal border communication system that even primitive translation devices could understand. The old warning beacons were replaced. The new message did not immediately threaten destruction. It said, "You are approaching Galactic Dominion space. Peaceful travelers may request entry. Open communication and identify your vessel." Zelther personally activated the first new beacon at boundary marker 14. Marcus stood beside him. "This is much friendlier," Marcus said. "It is less frightening." That is the point. Fear maintained the border for 15,000 years. And one human ship crossed it anyway. Zelther looked toward the stars. Yes. By then, the story of the Wanderer had spread across the Dominion. Children learned about it in school. Military academies studied the battle. Diplomats used it as an example of how first contact could go wrong and then become something greater. A replica of the Wanderer was built inside the Dominion History Center. It looked small beside the advanced warships surrounding it. Visitors often wondered how such a primitive vessel could have changed galactic history. A recording played beside the display. It showed Marcus Webb looking into Commander Zelther's eyes after being ordered to turn around. His answer contained only one word. No. The recording continued through the battle, the sacrifice, and the rescue. At the end, visitors saw Zelther bowing to the human captain. The museum guide explained that the bow represented the moment the Dominion stopped seeing humanity as a primitive species and began seeing it as an equal. Many years passed. Marcus grew older. Human medicine improved, but time still left marks on him. His hair became gray. Lines appeared around his eyes. He eventually left active service and taught new explorers. His most important lesson was simple. You will meet civilizations stronger than you, he told his students. You will enter places where you do not understand the rules. Respect those rules when they protect people. Question them when they exist only to protect power. One student raised her hand. What should we do when we are afraid? Marcus smiled. Pay attention to the fear. It may be warning you about something real. Then we should retreat. Sometimes. Courage does not mean choosing danger for no reason. How do we know when to continue? You ask what waits on the other side of the fear. He looked at the image of the wanderer displayed behind him. If the answer matters enough, you keep moving. Commander Zelther also grew older. He eventually retired from Dominion military service. In his private home, he kept a small burned piece of metal inside a clear case. The fragment still showed part of the wanderer's name. Visitors often asked why a famous commander displayed a piece of primitive human metal beside his military honors. Zelther always gave the same answer. That piece of metal taught me more about power than 300 cycles of military service. What did it teach you? They asked. That the strongest being is not always the one with the largest weapon. He would look at the fragment. Sometimes the strongest being is the one who understands the danger, feels the fear, and continues forward because someone else needs help. Decades after first contact, a new human exploration vessel prepared to leave Earth. Its design was far more advanced than the original Wanderer. Dominion energy shields protected its hull. Its engines could cross enormous distances. Its medical systems could repair injuries that had once been fatal. The ship was named Wanderer II. Marcus attended the launch ceremony. He moved slowly now, using a walking stick, but his eyes remained bright. Zelther stood beside him. The old commander's massive body had weakened, though he still towered over the humans around him. The captain of Wanderer II approached them. Sir, she said to Marcus, we are ready. Where are you going? Beyond the far edge of mapped space. Do you know what is there? No. Good. She smiled. We may cross the territory of unknown civilizations. Be respectful. We will. Be peaceful. We will. And if someone threatens to destroy you? The captain paused. Zelther turned all four eyes toward Marcus. Marcus smiled. Use your judgment. The captain laughed and returned to her ship. The launch platform moved away. Wanderer II rose into the sky. Its engines became a bright point of light before the vessel disappeared into faster-than-light space. Zelther watched it leave. Humans still moved toward the unknown. We always will, Marcus replied. One day, you may find something that cannot be defeated by courage or improvisation. Probably. That does not concern you. Of course it does. Yet you will continue exploring. Yes. Why? Marcus looked at the stars. Because the universe is there. Long after Marcus and Zelther were gone, their first meeting continued shaping the galaxy. The Galactic Dominion became less dependent on fear. Its borders opened to peaceful exploration. Its leaders began listening to younger civilizations. Its military learned to value creative thinking instead of perfect obedience. Humanity gained knowledge, technology, and allies. But humanity also gave something to the Dominion. It gave an ancient empire the courage to change. The Dominion had believed that strength meant control. Humans showed that strength could also mean compassion. The Dominion had believed that survival was the highest goal. Humans showed that survival without principles was not enough. The Dominion had believed that advanced weapons created authority. Humans showed that a weak ship with a determined crew could influence the future of 10,000 worlds. If humanity's refusal to surrender has kept you with us this far, show the same spirit by liking the video, subscribing to the channel, and sharing this story. Help this small human signal travel beyond every border in the galaxy. Centuries later, explorers discovered another fragment of the original Wanderer. It was found floating far from the old battlefield. The metal had been burned and twisted by the reactor explosion, but several words remained visible beneath the damage. The fragment was taken to the Galactic Council chamber. Representatives from thousands of civilizations gathered to see it. By that time, Earth had become one of the Dominion's most important members. Human scientists explored distant galaxies. Human diplomats solved conflicts between ancient enemies. Human rescue teams traveled toward disasters while others traveled away from them. Human ships were still not always the largest. They were not always the fastest. They were not always the most advanced. But whenever impossible odds appeared, someone eventually asked the same question. Where are the humans? The answer was usually simple. They are already on their way. The recovered fragment of the Wanderer was placed above the entrance to the council chamber. Below it, words from Marcus Webb's first conversation with Commander Zelther were written in thousands of languages. We do feel fear. We simply do not believe fear should make every decision for us. Young beings from every Dominion world passed beneath those words. Some became explorers. Some became soldiers. Some became scientists, healers, engineers, teachers, or leaders. They learned that courage was not owned by one species. But humans had reminded the galaxy what courage looked like. It looked like a primitive ship crossing a forbidden line. It looked like 30 explorers facing weapons they could not defeat. It looked like a captain politely refusing to surrender his right to move forward. It looked like strangers choosing to protect children they had never met. It looked like a damaged vessel becoming a weapon against impossible odds. It looked like escape pods flying away while the Wanderer burned like a newborn star. And it looked like a powerful commander bowing before a much smaller being. The Dominion's historians later gave the event an official name. They called it the Boundary 14 Incident. Humans preferred another name. They called it the day the galaxy met humanity. The event became so famous that many details turned into legends. Some stories claimed the Wanderer fought 50 Krell ships. Others claimed Marcus challenged the entire Dominion fleet. A few versions suggested the human captain drank coffee during the battle. Marcus always corrected that final detail. The coffee machine was destroyed during the first attack, he said. That was when the situation became truly serious. Even after retirement, his humor remained. But behind every joke was the memory of what had been lost. The Wanderer represented years of work, hope, and sacrifice. Marcus never pretended that losing it had been easy. Courage did not remove grief. Victory did not erase pain. The crew remembered the sound of the ship's engines, the narrow corridors, the damaged doors, and the small observation room where they had watched distant stars. They remembered birthdays celebrated far from Earth. They remembered arguments over food, music, and sleeping schedules. They remembered repairing the same cooling system 14 times. They remembered the final moment when they left their ship behind. Every crew member kept something connected to the Wanderer. One kept a damaged control switch. Another kept a piece of a seat belt. The chief engineer kept the tool she had been carrying during the evacuation. Marcus kept nothing. His piece of the ship remained with Zelther. When asked why, Marcus explained that the fragment belonged where its lesson mattered most. The Dominion commander had once believed that power could solve every problem. The burned metal reminded him that some victories came from sacrifice instead of control. After Zelther's death, the fragment was transferred to the Dominion History Center. It was placed beside a message the commander had recorded near the end of his life. The old Valdrin appeared on the screen with all 4 eyes focused on the camera. The first human I met violated our border, ignored my orders, challenged my authority, and caused more difficulty in 1 hour than most officers caused in a lifetime. His expression softened. He also saved my people. Zelther explained that he had initially mistaken the absence of obedience for the absence of intelligence. He had assumed that any reasonable being would surrender when faced with overwhelming force. Humans taught him that reason could lead to another conclusion. A person might decide that dignity mattered. A person might decide that freedom mattered. A person might decide that protecting others mattered more than personal survival. The Wanderer was not powerful, Zelther said in the recording. But its crew possessed a form of strength that our sensors could not measure. He raised the metal fragment. When they crossed our border, I believed they had entered the Dominion. I later understood that the Dominion had entered a new age. That new age became known as the Era of Open Stars. Exploration increased across the galaxy. Civilizations that had remained isolated began speaking to their neighbors. Young species received guidance instead of threats. Old enemies found opportunities to cooperate. The Dominion remained powerful, but its power gained a different purpose. It no longer existed only to control territory. It existed to protect the freedom of peaceful civilizations to travel, learn, and grow. None of those changes happened quickly. Humans argued for them over many years. They lost political votes. They made mistakes. Some human explorers violated rules without good reasons. Some human traders created problems. Some leaders used courage as an excuse for reckless behavior. Humanity was not perfect. The Dominion learned that very quickly. But humans never claimed to be perfect. They claimed only that improvement was possible. Whenever someone pointed toward humanity's violent past, human representatives agreed that it had been terrible. Then they asked what could be done to build a better future. That attitude confused many ancient civilizations. Older species often protected their pride by hiding their mistakes. Humans wrote books about their failures, built memorials to their victims, and argued publicly about what those failures meant. They carried shame, but they also carried determination. They believed history could be remembered without being repeated. Sometimes they failed. Then they tried again. The galaxy began using a new expression. When a plan seemed impossible but someone attempted it anyway, people called it a human solution. A human solution was not always elegant. It might use the wrong tool. It might create smoke, noise, or unexpected damage. It often made engineers nervous. But it usually solved the immediate problem. Dominion rescue teams began requesting human members for dangerous missions. Human rescuers entered burning stations, unstable planets, and damaged vessels. They did not survive every mission. Their losses were honored across the Dominion. Other species began copying their methods. They learned to create backup plans. Then backups for the backup plans. They carried manual tools in case advanced systems failed. They trained crew members to perform multiple jobs. They practiced making decisions without computer support. Most importantly, they learned that protecting life sometimes required breaking normal procedure. A famous rescue occurred on the planet Alara 7. A massive earthquake trapped thousands of people beneath a city. Dominion safety systems predicted that another earthquake would strike within 6 hours. The official rescue plan ordered teams to wait until the ground became stable. Human teams refused. The people beneath the city do not have 6 hours, their commander said. They entered the ruins. Other species followed. The second earthquake struck after 5 hours. By then, more than 12,000 people had been rescued. Several rescuers died. The official investigation concluded that the humans had violated 12 safety regulations. The report also stated that following those regulations would have resulted in thousands of additional deaths. The regulations were rewritten. Again, humanity changed the Dominion not because humans believed rules were useless, but because they believed rules should serve life. Captain Marcus Webb lived long enough to see that change. Near the end of his life, he returned once more to boundary marker 14. The original border station had been rebuilt. The warning beacon had become a welcome center for new civilizations. Ships from across the galaxy passed through every day. Marcus stood before a large viewing window. A young Dominion officer approached him. "Captain Webb, is this where you first entered Dominion space?" "Yes." "Were you truly not afraid?" Marcus smiled. "I was terrified. The officer looked surprised. The historical recordings show you smiling. I smile when I am nervous. You refuse to turn around. Yes. Did you believe Commander Zelther would not fire? No. I believed there was a real chance he would destroy us. Then why did you continue? Marcus looked toward the boundary. Because we had spent our entire lives preparing to explore the unknown. If we turned around the first time someone frightened us, we would never truly be explorers. The officer thought about his answer. Was continuing the correct choice? Marcus did not reply immediately. People like simple stories, he finally said. They want every brave decision to be correct and every victory to prove the hero was right. He rested both hands on his walking stick. Real life is more complicated. We could have died. Our actions could have started a war. I still ask myself whether I took too much risk with my crew. Do you regret it? I regret that I had to make the choice. That is not an answer. Marcus laughed softly. You sound like Zelther. The officer waited. No, Marcus said. I do not regret crossing the border. Outside the window, a small exploration ship approached the beacon. It belonged to a developing civilization that had only recently discovered faster-than-light travel. The ship slowed. A message from the beacon greeted it in its own language. You are approaching the Galactic Dominion. Peaceful travelers are welcome. Please identify yourselves so we may offer assistance. The small vessel answered. Its crew sounded nervous. Dominion officers responded with patience. No weapons were charged. No threats were made. Marcus watched the ship cross the line. That is why I do not regret it, he said. The young officer finally understood. Marcus Webb died peacefully on Earth several years later. Representatives from thousands of Dominion worlds attended his memorial. Admiral Corrin had already passed away. Zelther was gone. Charlix, whose species lived much longer than humans, stood beside Marcus's family. She carried the small Dominion citizenship symbol that had been given to Marcus after the battle. During the ceremony, recordings from the Wanderer played across the sky. The final recording showed the vessel moving toward the Krell jump point. Then the image changed to the reactor explosion. The crowd remained silent. Charlix spoke. When we first saw humans, we believed they were weak because their ship was made of simple metal. Light moved gently through her crystal body. We believed they were foolish because they did not fear our power. She looked toward Marcus's family. We later learned that humans were not without fear. They carried fear with them. They made room for it beside hope, duty, curiosity, humor, and love. Her body glowed with warm golden light. That is what made them strong. After the memorial, Marcus's ashes were divided. Some remained on Earth with his family. Some were taken to the stars by former members of his crew. A final portion was carried to boundary marker 14. The ashes were released near the place where the Wanderer had first entered Dominion space. They moved slowly into the darkness. Human and Dominion ships sounded their signals together. No military salute had ever been larger. Yet the greatest tribute to Marcus was not the ceremony. It was every peaceful ship that later crossed the border without fear. It was every Dominion officer who chose conversation before violence. It was every explorer who looked toward an unknown star and moved forward. It was every rescue team that entered danger because someone needed help. And it was every young civilization that learned the galaxy did not have to be ruled by fear. Thousands of years later, the Galactic Dominion no longer existed in its original form. It had become a wider union of civilizations spread across several galaxies. Earth was considered one of its ancient founding worlds, even though humanity had joined long after the original Dominion was created. Historians found that description inaccurate. Humans had not founded the old Dominion. But they had helped found the civilization that came after it. The burned fragment of the Wanderer remained protected inside the Central Council chamber. The metal looked insignificant. It had no advanced technology. No energy remained inside it. But leaders still stood beneath it before making important decisions. They remembered that the future of the galaxy had once depended on 30 beings aboard a primitive ship. Those beings had no reason to believe they could defeat the Dominion. They had no reason to believe they could survive the Krell. They had no reason to sacrifice themselves for strangers. But humans had never depended entirely on reasons. They also depended on choices. They chose to continue exploring. They chose to question a threat. They chose to help. They chose to fight. They chose to sacrifice their ship. And because of those choices, they survived. The Dominion had expected the humans to flinch. It expected them to lower their eyes, reverse their engines, and disappear into the darkness from which they had come. Instead, Captain Marcus Webb looked at the greatest military power in known space and calmly said no. That single word did not come from arrogance. It came from the long history of a species that had always lived beside danger. Humans had looked at oceans and built ships. They had looked at the sky and built aircraft. They had looked at the moon and built rockets. They had looked at the stars and built the Wanderer. Whenever the universe created a boundary, humans asked what existed beyond it. Whenever someone declared a task impossible, humans treated the statement like a challenge. Whenever fear ordered them to remain still, some human eventually stepped forward. Not every step ended in victory. Many explorers were lost. Many inventions failed. Many dreams ended in tragedy. But humanity continued. That was the quality Zelther had seen inside Marcus. It was not the belief that humans could never be defeated. It was the belief that defeat did not have to be the end. A ship could be destroyed, but its mission could continue. A plan could fail, but another could be created. A person could feel fear and still act. An ancient empire could make a mistake and still change. The story of the Wanderer survived because it was not only about a battle. It was about two civilizations discovering a different kind of strength. The Dominion discovered that authority without understanding could become cruelty. Humanity discovered that the galaxy contained powers far greater than Earth. Both civilizations could have responded with violence. Instead, they eventually chose respect. That choice created an alliance. The alliance created change. And that change echoed across the stars. So, when future explorers reached the boundaries of known space, they carried a message with them. It was written inside every human ship and translated into every major galactic language. We travel in peace. We seek knowledge. We respect life. We will offer friendship before conflict. But we will not surrender our right to explore the universe. Below those words was the image of a small ship. The Wanderer. The primitive vessel that crossed into the Dominion and did not flinch. The ship that had been threatened by an empire and defended that empire less than an hour later. The ship that burned so hundreds of strangers could live. The ship that proved technology did not define courage. The ship that showed the galaxy what humans did when they were told to turn around. They moved forward. And from that day onward, whenever darkness covered the path, whenever danger waited beyond the next star, and whenever impossible odds caused stronger civilizations to retreat, the galaxy listened for the sound of human engines. Because somewhere inside the darkness, humans were already coming. They might arrive in an advanced warship. They might arrive in a damaged transport. They might arrive with a perfect plan. More likely, they would arrive with several imperfect plans, a collection of simple tools, and someone making a joke at the worst possible moment. But they would arrive. They would stand beside the frightened. They would protect the helpless. They would question the impossible. And when the universe ordered them to flinch, surrender, or turn around, humanity would give the same answer Marcus Webb had given at boundary marker 14. No. Not because humans believed they were immortal. Not because they believed they could win every battle. And not because they were too foolish to understand fear. They would say no because fear was only one voice inside the human mind. Hope was another. Curiosity was another. Duty, love, loyalty, and courage spoke there too. And when those voices became louder than fear, humans crossed boundaries that had remained untouched for thousands of years. The Dominion thought it was guarding its territory from a primitive species. It did not realize that it was standing at the entrance to a new future. Humanity crossed that entrance aboard a ship of welded metal. Its crew had no advanced shields. Its weapons were basic. Its engines were unreliable. Yet it carried the one force the Dominion could neither measure nor intimidate. The stubborn human refusal to give up. That force survived the destruction of the Wanderer. It entered the Dominion. It spread across 10,000 civilizations. And once it arrived, the galaxy was never the same again.